Hey everyone, my name is Amber, and welcome back to another episode of Spotlight Sessions. This month we are diving into the world of production design, and I am joined by the lovely Cheyenne Ford. Cheyenne is a New York based film and advertising production designer who was recently recognized as a BAFTA Breakthrough USA Artist. She's worked on projects like Shiva Baby, starring Rachel Sennett, the upcoming feature Miller's Girl, starring Jenna Ortega, the TV series Rami, as well as having worked for companies like Google TV, Pinterest, Walmart, and so many more. So we're very excited to talk to Cheyenne. Cheyenne, hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Amber. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, thanks. We are really excited to delve into the world of production design because it's something that we haven't really talked about on the podcast yet. And we actually got a few people who were interested in doing set design or kind of doing transferable skills from the visual arts and trying to get on a film set and see how that can be used in a different way. So we're really excited to kind of hear your experience and hopefully learn a little bit more. So why don't we just get started in hearing how you established yourself in the production design world? How did you get started booking projects and working with people? And any kind of advice, maybe portfolio wise? How have you joined us in the production design world?
Well, I can say that I started at the very bottom. I was first interested in politics and started going to school for
Interesting.
that.
Okay.
And after a couple of classes, thought politics was really depressing. And
Very
there's not
fair.
a lot of mobility for like quick change in politics. I thought it was just a little bit too confined. And I was taking a film course and saw that there's a lot more power in media. So started doing film and really had no idea about even the world of production design until a few years into studying film. And then I got some opportunities to be on a film set and just started at the very bottom as an art PA. And an art PA is like the physical hands of an art team. It's like, hey, grab this, bring it over there, pick up this, drive me here. You're just moving around, but you get to interact with so many different people in the art department, in other departments, and you really get to see how all these roles and responsibilities come together to make a team and to fill the world of production. So I started there and then just kept working and kept asking questions. I didn't have any formal training in the arts, so I just asked questions on set and kept following the strengths that I already had. Like I didn't know drafting, so I wasn't trying to be an art director first, you know? But then I was good at set decorating, so I started working as a set decorator and then asking questions with art directors like, hey, will you teach me how to draft? And then I learned how to draft, and then I got art directing jobs. So it's important to just follow your own skills and take it day by day. The film industry can be a really non-linear journey for sure. You got to be along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting that you didn't have any formal training and you kind of just got it for, like you said, asking questions and kind of being curious. I think a lot you said it so perfectly. This the creative industries are so nonlinear, and so it's nice to hear people who've both gone through training and people who were just kind of really interested and got started. So that's great. Can you take us through the process of kind of how you hone a creative vision for a project? So when you first learned that you're going to be the production designer on a project to executing it, what would you say your creative process for that is?
Yeah, my creative process always starts with a lot of analysis of the script. I like to print out the script and read it a couple of times and start marking, finding common threads. And it's like, okay, well, this is actually a movie about envy, and jealousy. And
Right.
so, starting with analysis and then digging into emotions, and then a really important part of keeping these ideas from first steps to being on set is just making sure that you're aligned with all of your other creative department heads. So talking to the director, hey, let's figure out these emotional beats, and here's my proposal for a language, a visual language that we can use to express these motifs of relationships, envy, whatever you're working with. And then once you're aligned with the director and the cinematographer, I like to use references, visual references, to communicate with my decorators, prop masters, art directors. And I like to use a lot of references. And I'll say, like, okay, this reference is just for a texture. This reference is just for the clutter in a space. I like this part. I don't like this part. I think a lot of people will put references like, okay, Blue Valentine is a great reference for this movie, so watch Blue Valentine. But it's like, okay, but what do you like about it and what do you not like? Like the wallpaper usage and the mixture of like wooden furniture, whatever it is. So I like to be really specific and use a lot of references and have a lot of conversations, because I actually find that the more specific you can be in those references, the more you're inspiring your collaborators to then take that information and take it further and play with it.
Got it. Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned it a little bit too, the idea that there's all these people that are directly involved in your department. I can imagine that it might get a little crazy. Maybe sometimes people are on different pages of what the vision is. How do you deal with that? Has that happened before? And kind of how do you navigate, I guess, sharing the vision, even though you are kind of the one trying to lead what you would like to see for the project?
Yeah, it's really hard. And yeah, there's miscommunications every single job. That happens. The same way you can even, miscommunicate with your best friend of 20 years, right? Like there's just people miscommunicate sometimes, and sometimes you already have something in your mind, so you hear information with that in mind and you're not actually listening. There's just always possibilities for miscommunications and for ego, right? You also have to deal with that. Sometimes someone just doesn't necessarily want to hear your idea, and you just have to stay calm. And sometimes that's really hard because artists are passionate. We're all so passionate, and we all like want to make the best work possible, but it's subjective. Nobody has like the right answer on what is the best work or what is the most clear, expressive way to communicate, an emotion. So it's important to just always remember other people's perspectives, stay calm. And yeah, sometimes you end up making stuff where it's like, okay, well, that's not really how I wanted to do it, but that's okay. It's a movie. And just treat it like if you're forced to do something that is not your creative preference, just consider it an experiment and opportunity to like step outside of your comfort zone. And maybe that'll inspire an idea for a future project.
For sure. I love that outlook. Think of it as an experiment. That's great. So we mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, but you work both in the film space and the advertising commercial space. Other than the kind of like technical difference between the two, is there anything that changes about your creative process when you're working in these different mediums? And do you have a preference on if you prefer one or the other?
Yeah, commercials and features are like totally different worlds. For one, on a feature, I analyze the script, I find emotions, and I talk to the director about all of these feelings, and it can be very collaborative, in like a foundational, emotional, expressive way. But commercials, I'm looking at brand guidelines and executing something that fits a brand, which can be fun because it's just a different kind of challenge. You're thinking a lot more about refined color palettes typically, and making pretty clean worlds. Like catalogs are always so much more neat and tidy than, a teenage boy's bedroom in a movie. But it's been fun. In the past couple of years, I've actually found a shift where commercials want to show more like realistic environments, and they want to see, keys in a bowl next to the door and junk mail there and dirty clothes in a laundry hamper. And so there have been a handful of commercials where I've been hired because I have a narrative background, because I have more of that like character development through textures of set dressing. But even when commercials tell me that they want it messy, I'm like, no, you want it commercial messy. Like, I know you
It's a
don't
different
actually
thing.
want it
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah.
So it's always, and that's the thing too, is when you have conversations with a film director, um, you're often having much more honest and vulnerable conversations. But when you're talking with a commercial client, there is a little bit of reinterpreting what they're saying.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
Even, for example, I don't know why commercial clients and agencies really love to say that they want something to feel very Wes Anderson.
Is that a term that they use a lot?
Yeah, it comes up.
Interesting.
Like, okay,
Okay.
well, you just want a refined color palette
Mm-hmm.
and some intentional compositions in the frame. But they
Mm-hmm.
never want it like as color blocked as Wes Anderson and the
Right.
symmetry and
Yeah.
the like quirkiness. They don't want that. They just want color and composition to be thought
That's so.
about.
So do you
Uh,
find that the language is overall with commercial clients, it's not, they just don't use terms, or they like maybe misuse phrases that might make it harder for you?
there's a different
Okay.
type of language in the commercial world. Um, and I think that's largely because in the narrative world, you are talking more about the human experience typically. And so that's where you get this rawness. But then with commercials, you're trying to sell something and you're talking about visuals more in the sake of aesthetic and just marketability and also common design trends. And so it's just a different kind of language, and I think that sometimes clients uh, try to do something different. Like, it's okay. The last commercial told me they wanted it Wes Anderson too. Like, it's the
I know
same.
what that means now. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, I guess on that note, more specifically to, let's say, a youth that is trying to get into this and is wanting to hone those skills now, kind of like how you started off and just asking questions. Are there any specific skills or even like mediums of visual art that you think would translate really well to you now as a production designer that you would recommend people starting out maybe look into or try really kind of honing that?
The beautiful thing about the art department is that whatever skills you have, you can bring to the art department, and there's going to be a place for you. Like, if you have any interest in the art department, just come on over and we'll find where you fit in.
Oh,
Because if you're good at drawing, then you should be more in the art director world or graphic design world. If you love shopping and talking to vendors and chasing things down and putting together the spaces, go to set deck, or if you're really, really detail oriented and really like thinking a lot about details like what color should this cell phone case be or how
right.
big should this purse be, then props is for you. Or maybe you really like playing with fire. Okay, go work in special effects. There's also a
Right,
greens
right.
department if you like plants. There's scenic and construction for painting and building. There's just really any skill set in that creative realm. Um, there's a place for it. And um, so I'm actually creating a 5-week training program in New York City that'll be launching
Wow.
next summer.
Oh,
That will,
fantastic.
yeah, I'm super excited about it because there hasn't been a program like this yet where people can try out all of the different crafts that are in the art
Right.
department.
Yeah.
So we give students a short film and they design it over the course of these 5 weeks, and every week you learn more about all of these positions that I was just explaining, and so you get to kind of dabble in every department, and then at the end there's a portfolio review where active members of the New York film industry are invited, and you can meet them and say like, oh, hey, you're a prop master, that's cool, props was my favorite part of this program, I'd like to come
Yeah.
work for you. So
Wow.
yeah, I think that it's less about trying to enter the industry with a specific skill set and just finding your own skills and seeing what part of the art department you could fit best into.
Absolutely. That's we will definitely be bumping that when that more details on that come out because I know for a fact we have a lot of people that would be very interested in that. So thank you for spearheading that. That's an amazing initiative. Yeah, I think we can move on to a little fun question that I personally wanted to ask. Do you have anything specifically that you think is like your favorite thing about being in production design? And along those lines, do you have a favorite project that you've worked on as a production designer?
I tell people that being a production designer is a lot of talking and thinking. That's a lot of what you do.
Right.
And I love that. I love talking with other people, and being really thoughtful about, again, like especially in narrative, it's the human experience, right? Is really like the center of a lot of work. And uh, I find it so interesting the way that I can sit down with a director and a set decorator and a DP, and we can all talk about our experience around an idea, whether it's relationships or family or career or being an artist, whatever this experience is, we can all bring our own thoughts to the table and then find the commonalities and find the uniqueness as well, and then to translate that into visual language through color, texture, line. It's amazing. I think it's so fun. It's just such
Yeah.
a pure artistic process. Executing the world is the really hard part, but just thinking about translating
Right.
emotion into visual language is so fun to me. And I had a lot of fun doing that on this project, Miller's Girl, starring Jenna Ortega and Martin Freeman. It's a Lionsgate movie that has yet to come out yet. I believe it's been a little delayed with the strikes this year, so hopefully soon. I can't wait for people to see it. I have to
Yeah.
stay vague, but you're going to see the movie.
Oh my gosh. Another thing that we will also bump when it comes out because I would love
Great.
to see kind of a tangible idea of what we've talked about kind of on the screen. That's really exciting and big congratulations on that as well. That's a fantastic project to work on.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I guess as we wrap up, I'd love to ask a question we ask all our guests if there's any last piece of advice that you would give to aspiring art department professionals, production designers, even just creatives, youth creatives who are looking to pursue the path you're on, or just on their own journey in the arts, anything that you'd like to leave them with.
Yeah, my advice is just don't give up. If you want to be an artist, there are so many different ways to make money and feel fulfilled as an artist, and you just have to find the route that's for you. When I was growing up, there were so many different careers I thought I was interested in, from being a writer to then I thought maybe I would be like a book editor. I wanted to be a painter. Then I thought, well, I need to do something more stable, so I'll do marketing. Well, maybe I'll do politics, film directing, and I just had so many different interests and it was all
Right.
over the place. And I just tried to explore each idea and give it my time and energy and see, okay, is this a place that I could thrive in mentally and financially? And then the film industry, once I found the art department, it was just something that where everything clicked. I felt like all of the skills that I have were there and could be put to use. I had so much fun. I remember the first like 3 film sets that I worked on. I came home and just cried because I was so
Oh,
overwhelmed and
yeah.
happy. And so I love telling other people about how accessible it is. Like the film industry seems so elusive, But you just have to be perseverant. You just have to keep trying, keep going, reach out to people, reach out to me, say, hey, how do I get onto a film set? And just don't give up, because if it's your thing and if it's going to make you happy, there's a way. You just have to be perseverant and keep going.
I love that that's what you ended with, because that's like our biggest mantra here at Off the Charts. We're always telling people there are so many opportunities in the arts that we don't hear about all the time, but that you
Yeah.
can make a sustainable, fulfilling career out of. And it's just a matter of like being proactive and asking and being perseverant, like you said. So thank you for echoing that. That was
Yeah.
perfect. Great way to end out.
Great. I think
Well,
you guys have a great mission. I was so happy when you reached out. I was like, oh, this is sick.
thank you. I appreciate that. We appreciate that a lot. Cheyenne, thank you so much for talking to us. It was so nice sitting down with you. And again, just hearing more about production design and a little bit more about kind of some different departments in the film industry that we don't always hear about, but that are, again, such valuable careers and departments to want to work in. If you want to follow Cheyenne's work and see more about what she's up to, including that upcoming program, all of links to things will be in the description of wherever you are watching or listening to this too. So please go check her out and support her work. And with that being said, again, Cheyenne, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who is watching and listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.